Well, hello and welcome once again to the Waters and Stanton video channel. My name is Peter Waters and my call sign is Golf 3 Oscar Juliet Victor. In this video we're going to have a look at a 6-band antenna that you can build yourself. An antenna that's very compact, would fit into a small garden. And we're going to use something called a 4:1 UnUn to create this antenna. It can be a vertical antenna. Now vertical antennas can be a bit prone to noise. That's a fact of life, but if you insert line isolators, as I explain a bit later in the video, you'll reduce the amount of noise coming up the coax. And anyway, it's a solution for a small garden. So this antenna will cover from 10 megahertz to 30 megahertz. That covers 6 ham radio bands. I think we might even be able to squeeze 6 meters out of it as well. Anyway, let me take you through the building of this antenna. Something you can do in your own garden. Give it a try. It doesn't cost too much to build, and it's quite an interesting project. Let's draw the basic vertical antenna. That's the antenna itself. Got a vertical element there, and we'll make that a quarter wave, because a quarter wave element is resonant. And because it's vertical and it's only a quarter wave, we need something else for the return path. The return path for the aerial is radials that come out from the base. So we've now got a vertical antenna, a quarter wave. We've got these radials that are the return path. In other words, we've got two poles. One pole is the vertical, the other pole are these radials that are on the ground. And we feed that point there with coax cable. If we magnify it a bit here, we've got the radials there. We've got a bit of coax cable there. The inner conductor of the cable goes to the vertical. The outer conductor of the coax cable goes, the sheathing that is, that goes down to the radials. And that there is a low impedance point. That is roughly 50 ohms, give or take. Probably in practice it's more like 25 or 35 ohms, but it gives a good match. So if, for example, we make this vertical length around about 16 feet long, that becomes a resonant length, a quarter wave length, on the 20 meter ham radio band. We've got a good match, and that will work pretty well. The problem arises if we try and operate it on other frequencies, because on most other frequencies, that low impedance is going to become quite a high impedance. It's going to be a complete mismatch. So whilst we can make an antenna like this, 16 foot or so high, with radials which will work very well on 20 meters, as soon as we try to operate it on other bands, it's going to be a terrible mismatch and it just won't work. There'll be tremendous losses. Now, at the moment we're stuck with a very good match on 20 meters, but very poor match on all the other bands. Well, there's something rather magical that happens if we increase the length of the antenna by a certain amount. If we increase the length of the antenna from about 16 feet to 18 feet, we don't get such a good match on 20 meters. It's sort of a mediocre match. But we also then get a mediocre match on the other bands. So in other words, we're trading a good match on one band for a mediocre match on the other bands. And that's not a bad deal. And the reason it's not a bad deal is because we also add something called a 4:1 UnUn. And that acts as a sort of a transformer, and it actually improves the match on all the bands when we extend the length of the antenna. And we end up with not a bad performing antenna on all the bands. You're not going to get a 1:1 VSWR, but you're going to get something like about a 2:1 VSWR. And the difference between 1:1 and 2:1 VSWR is very, very small in terms of the performance of the antenna. And I'll put up on the screen in a minute the sort of trade-off you're doing. What are you actually losing by going from 1:1 to 2:1? Much better to have 2:1 all the bands than 1:1 on one band
and 5 or 6 to 1 on all the other bands. Makes sense, doesn't it? Now, I've assumed that perhaps you're going to have a length of coax about 50 foot long. And that length of coax is going to be a common garden RG58 coax, nothing special about that. But what I want to demonstrate is how much you're going to lose on each band with that 2 to 1 VSWR rather than the 1 to 1. It's not as much as you might think. It gets worse as you go to the higher frequencies, but just take a look now on the screen.
Now, 50 foot of RG58 coax, 10 megahertz, we lose 0.126 dB. On 14 megahertz, we lose 0.147 dB. On 18 megahertz, we lose 1.164 dB. On 21 megahertz, 0.175 dB. And on 28 megahertz, 0.197 dB. And if you might say, okay, well, I'm going to have more than 50 foot of coax, if you double the length of that coax, you double those numbers. At no point do you come anywhere near half a dB of loss resulting from a 2 to 1 VSWR.
Now that's interesting, isn't it? If you bear in mind that 1 dB, 1 decibel, is the smallest change that the ear can detect. It's almost not worth worrying about. And we're dealing with something less than half a decibel. So really and truly, this sort of mediocre impedance match turns out to be quite a good match in terms of what we're losing. We're losing something which we can't really hear the difference. And that's quite amazing, isn't it? Now, if you have a 2 to 1 VSWR, it's a sort of thing that the transceiver doesn't really like. It's not going to damage your transceiver because your transceiver is protected against high VSWR. But you don't want a 2 to 1 VSWR because what will happen is the transceiver will start to reduce the amount of power it delivers to protect itself. But all modern transceivers have got internal antenna matching units. We call them ATUs. They should be called antenna matching units. Doesn't matter what you call them. We know what they do and what their purpose is. If you switch that in, you'll actually get a perfect match as far as your transceiver is concerned. It won't remove the VSWR on the coax line, but it will enable the transceiver to deliver full power into that coax cable. And we know on that coax cable, the result of the VSWR is going to be a loss that we really can't hear. Now, there is an additional loss on coax cable, which is the inherent loss. It approaches a 1 dB loss through the type of coax cable we're using. But everybody's got a loss on coax cable. You've still got that loss, even with a 1 to 1 perfect match. You've still got your 1 to 1, your 1 dB loss on your coax cable. So you can really ignore it because it's a level playing field. We're only interested in what we're losing by having an antenna which is not a perfect match. And we found out that the loss is so small that the guy at the other end won't be able to tell the difference. Provided we've got an internal antenna matching unit, the transceiver will deliver full power and everybody will be happy. He'll be able to hear you and you'll be losing very, very little power. And you'll have an antenna which radiates on multi-bands, in this case from 10 megahertz to 28 megahertz. Anyway, let's go further into this.
Let's see how all this goes together. Over here, we've got our transceiver, TCVR, and inside there, we've got an ATU. We need to use the ATU. Then we've got our coax cable coming out of the transceiver. I would always put a line isolator there, which is basically winding the coax round a toroid. So there I would put a line isolator that prevents RF getting into the transceiver and upsetting the ATU. We take this coax cable further along and we come to the antenna. Now at the antenna we are going to have a 4 to 1 UnUn. So we've got a 4 to 1 UnUn there. That's the transformer. That'll have two leads coming out of it. One lead will be the earthy side, we'll call it the earthy side, and that goes down to the radial system on the ground. The other side goes to the antenna. Now, in the antenna that I used a fiberglass pole. So I had a fiberglass pole like that, which was just over 18 foot tall. It's a telescopic pole, so you can telescope it out to whatever length you like. And I ran 18 feet, sorry it's in old money, but I ran 18 feet of wire up the side of that pole. So we've got up the side of that pole, let's just put some tape on it, taped it to the pole. And this lead from the UnUn goes to the base of that wire. That wire is not connected to the ground. It's connected just above the ground. You've got 2 or 3 inches above the ground, 18 foot, taped to the pole. The other side of the UnUn goes to the counterpoise. On this side, you'll have a coax cable there with there'll probably be a PL259 connection there, which will plug into your 4-to-1 UnUn. The 4-to-1 UnUn will have some sort of coax connector on it. I again add another line isolator there because I don't want my coax cable to be acting as a counterpoise. So I've got 2 line isolators, one there and one there. The most important one is the one there, but I always put one there as well. You can buy them, but I would say make your own, because all you need to do is to wind your coax around a ferrite core and you've got your line isolator.
Now, I should explain the reason I chose the 18 foot length is because it's a popular length used by commercial manufacturers of wideband vertical antennas, and I thought, well, okay, let's see how it all works. I'm now going to show you on the screen the VSWR across the spectrum. I started from around about 7 megahertz, and it goes across to 30 megahertz. So this is the VSWR that you'll see across the spectrum of the frequency range that this antenna covers. It covers, what does it cover, 5 bands? Yes, covers 6 bands. It covers 10 megahertz, 14 megahertz, 18 megahertz, 21 megahertz, 24 megahertz, 28 megahertz. That's 6 bands. That's not a bad deal, is it? So let's have a look at the spectrum display of the VSWR across that range of frequencies. Now here's a result of the scan. This here is the 40 meter band, and you can see it's very high VSWR there. This is the 30 meter band, where it's coming down at just a bit above 3-to-1, but that's matchable by the antenna tuner unit. Then it comes down and it's wiggling around about 2.1, 2.2. This is the 20 meter band. This is the 17 meter band, 15 meter band, 12 meter band. This line here is the CB band, and this is the 10 meter ham band. So you can see basically it's running around about 2.1, 2.2 that area along that spectrum there. It's only on the 30 meter band where it rises, but the ATU in the transceiver should take care of that. And this loss here is well below half a dB, even though it's going about 2.1, 2.2. It's still less than half a dB loss, which is quite acceptable. Let me show you the antenna that I've been using. It's a bit of a makeshift really, but it's in the summer. We haven't had any rain, so I'll just show you what I've been using.
Right, here's the antenna at the end of my garden. It's a fiberglass pole, telescoped out to about 17 or 18 feet, just enough for the wire to be supported by the, sorry about the movement of the camera there, and it makes quite a compact installation, not too obvious as regards neighbours. Now there's a close-up shot of the base of the antenna. As I say, it's a temporary sort of lash up really, but it proves the point. You'll see that I've got We've got 2 sets of 4 radials on. I use alligator clips just to clip on the base so I can take them off and put them on very quickly. And the Balun, or rather the UnUn, is a 1 kilowatt UnUn because I was concerned about efficiency. The manufacturers claim a maximum loss of about 1 dB, which tends to peak at the extremities of the range, either end. So in the middle, around about 40 meters and 20 meters, the loss is quite low. So I was quite happy about that. So the insertion loss is really of no great significance. I found that the Yaesu FTX1 would match the antenna on all bands from 20 meters right up to 6 meters, no problem at all. But it struggled a bit on 40 meters. And so for 40 meter operation, just to check it out, I used my LDG tuner here, and that matched it okay on 40 meters. Now, of course, on 40 meters, you're not going to get such good results simply because the antenna tends to emit low angle radiation, and that's not the best angle radiation for normal daytime QSOs on 40 meters. So you will find the antenna's a bit down. And of course, it's also half the size of the conventional quarter wave vertical. And we've got the higher VSWR, etc., so there's a greater loss on the coax cable. So altogether, it will work on 40 meters, but don't expect wonderful results. You'll have QSOs, and if there's a station at S9, they'll probably hear you as S7 if you're running similar power. Now, as regards to the UnUn, I had a 1 kilowatt UnUn there because I just happened to have a 1 kilowatt UnUn there. But if you're running the sort of lower power that many of us run, 100 watts, so forth, LDG do a very nice 4-to-1 UnUn, which we carry in stock. Just put it up on the screen here. You can see it's got a pair of terminals, so you can take one side out to the area, the other side down to the counterpoise, and you've got an SO239 input socket. It's not claimed to be waterproof, but it wouldn't take much ingenuity to put that into a plastic box if you want it outside and weather in the garden over a long period of time. Well, I was quite pleased with the results, actually, and it just shows how a 4-to-1 UnUn can be used to create a multi-band antenna in a relatively small space, ideal for a small garden, and it gives you performance on the bands from 20 meters right up to 6 meters, which is not bad. That's 6 bands. If you want to add 40 meters to it, albeit not quite so good on 40 meters, then it's 7 bands. But I think whichever way you look at it, it's an attractive proposition, and it's not too expensive to build. If you've got yourself a fiberglass mast or something else that will support 18 feet of wire, and I apologise, I work in old money, but that's the way I work, provided you can get this 18-foot vertical up, and you've got a 4-to-1 UnUn. LDG is one that we sell, and it's very reliable and good performer, and some wire out, some counterpoises out. I had 8 wire counterpoises, which they were 3 meters long, actually, not that long actually. So each counterpoise wire was 3 meters long. I had 8 of them. If you put more down or you make them a bit longer, you'll get better results. And of course, if you've got a small garden and you don't want to bury them under the ground, then just lay them on top of the lawn and move them out of the way when you cut the lawn or whatever your local situation is. So I hope, yet again, I've demonstrated that you can have a small antenna in a garden and have some great fun with it. So get out in the garden, give it a whirl, and let me know how you get on with it. In the meantime, enjoy your ham radio. Don't forget to press the subscribe button. And as usual, I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.